Hello everyone, welcome to Prudent Classes. My name is Shivam Maheshwari, and in this video, guys, we are going to discuss about one of the most important topics of IBO 1. IBO 1, our subject, International Business Environment, and this is the part second of Unit 13 discussion. Okay, prior to this, I have provided a video, and that was also important. And unit number 13 is international financial institutions, and the topic that we are going to discuss in this video is write a short note on special drawing rights, SDRs, one of the facilities provided by IMF, International Monetary Fund. So this topic is very important because this topic has been asked multiple time in the examination. If I talk about this topic was asked in June 2013 exam, in June 2014 exams, December exams as well. So you guys should have a knowledge about this particular facility provided by IMF. So I'll let you know about it. And before we proceed further in this video, guys, I would like each and every one of you to remember our mission. Our mission is to achieve 70% or more in our upcoming examinations. And I'll help you all to make this task easy. Okay. And apart from that, I request each and every one of you to subscribe to my channel to get notifications further, and press the bell icon as well. And if you like this video, please, you can give me a thumbs up and share it with your friend and family members. Okay. So, let's start our concept of special drawing rights. Okay, so SDR is the short form, and in the full form of SDR is special drawing rights. As I said to you, one of the facilities provided by International Monetary Fund. In my previous video, I have informed you about IMF. I gave you the objective, so do watch that video. I'll give you a link. There will be a I button. You can see that and you can click on that, or else you can visit my channel's playlist to watch that. Okay, so let's talk about the point number one. So the question can be asked like, what are special drawing rights, or write a short note on SDR. So point number one in this slide says special drawing rights, SDR, refer to an international type of monetary reserve currency created by a resolution adopted in the International Monetary Fund IMF annual meeting in 1969. Okay, so what is SDR? SDR basically refers to an international type of monetary reserve currency. So it is an international monetary reserve currency, and it was created by a resolution adopted in the International Monetary Fund's annual meeting in 1969. So the important point that you need to understand that special drawing right, SDR, is a monetary reserve currency. Okay, and it's an international type monetary reserve currency, and it was introduced by International Monetary Fund IMF, and it was introduced in 1969. So I repeat the point number one, special drawing rights refer to an international type of monetary reserve currency which was created by a resolution adopted in the International Monetary Fund annual meeting in 1969. Okay, now let's talk about the point number two. So SDR is a reserve asset that operates as a supplement to the existing money reserves of the member countries. Okay, so what is SDR? SDR is a reserve asset that operates as a supplement to the existing money reserves of the member countries. Okay, in other words, if you want to say, you can say that special drawing rights are supplementary foreign exchange reserve assets defined and maintained by the International Monetary Fund. Okay, I repeat, special drawing rights are supplementary foreign exchange reserve assets defined and maintained by the International Monetary Fund. It is not a currency in itself. They represent a potential claim on the currencies of the International Monetary Fund member states for which they may be exchanged. Okay, I repeat the point once again. It is, SDR is not a currency itself. They represent a potential claim on the currencies of IMF member for which they may be exchanged. Okay, now let's talk about the point number three. Point number three says SDR was created in response to concerns about the limitations of gold and dollars as the sole means of settling international accounts. So prior to SDR, what used to happen, all the disputes related to international accounts were settled either by using gold or dollars. Okay, but after the introduction of special drawing rights SDR, what happened now? All the member countries got another way of settling the international accounts. Okay, so the point is very important. Just learn it. SDR, special drawing rights, was created in response to concerns about the limitations of gold and dollars as the sole means of settling international account. I repeat, SDR was created in response to concerns about the limitations of gold and dollars as the sole means of settling international accounts. Okay, I hope all 3 points are clear to you. Let's proceed to our next slide. All right, guys, now the next slide is on the screen. Let's talk about the point number one. So, special drawing right or SDR increases international liquidity by supplementing the standard reserve currencies. Okay, very simple point. So, what is SDR doing? SDR is increasing the international liquidity, and how the liquidity is increased, it is by supplementing the standard reserve currencies. Okay, so SDR is increasing international liquidity by supplementing the standard reserve currencies. Okay, all right, guys, now let's talk about the point number two in the slide. So, point number two says SDR is an artificial currency instrument used by the IMF and is built from a basket of important national currencies. I repeat, SDR is an artificial currency instrument used by the International Monetary Fund and is built from a basket of important national currencies. Okay. So, guys, according to this point, SDR is considered as an artificial currency instrument. And if we talk about determining the value of SDR, so it is determined by the value of many currencies important to the world's trading and financial system. Okay, I repeat, the value of SDR is determined by the value of several currencies important to the world trading and financial systems. It is composed of the Japanese yen, US dollar, British pound, and the euro. Okay, so these are the currencies which are basically used to determine the value of SDR, special drawing rights. Okay. Now let's talk about the point number three. So point number three says the IMF uses special drawing rights for internal accounting purposes. Okay. So why IMF is using SDRs? It is used for internal accounting purposes. So SDRs are allocated by the IMF to its member countries and are supported by the full faith and credit of the member countries' governments. Okay. I repeat, SDRs are allocated by the International Monetary Fund to its member countries and are supported by the full faith and credit of the member countries' governments. Okay, so I hope all 3 points in this slide are clear. Now let's proceed to our next slide. So, guys, in this slide, we are going to discuss a lot about SDR. So, point number one says the SDR was formed with a vision of becoming a major element of international reserves, with gold and reserve currencies forming a minor incremental component of such reserve. So, the entire purpose of creating SDR by IMF was to make it an important element of international reserve. Okay, they want to reduce the dependence of gold and other reserve currencies, and they want to make them minor component of the total reserve, and SDR was supposed to become a major element of the international reserve. Okay, so point is very simple. So the SDR was formed with the vision of becoming a major element of international reserves, with gold and reserve currencies forming a minor incremental component of such reserves. Okay, now let's talk about the point two in this particular slide. To participate in the system, a country was required to have official reserves, which consisted of central bank or government reserves of gold and globally accepted foreign currencies that could be used to buy the local currency in foreign exchange markets to maintain a stable exchange rate. So any country which would like to avail this facility of SDR, for that country, what is required to participate in this SDR system? A country is required to have official reserves, which consisted of central bank or government reserves of gold and globally accepted foreign currencies, which could be used to buy local currency in the foreign exchange market in order to maintain or make the exchange rate stable. Now, our next point says the international supply of the US dollar and gold, the two main reserve assets, was not sufficient to support growth in the global trade and the related financial transactions that were taking place. This prompted member countries to form an international reserve asset under the guidance of the IMF. So, in this point, basically, I have mentioned the reason why SDR was introduced, why International Monetary Fund think about creating a new form of reserve asset, okay, that is SDR. So SDR was basically created because the international supply of the US dollar and gold, which were the two main reserve assets, were not sufficient to support growth in the global trade. Since because of globalization, the global trade was increasing and there was a great need of increasing a currency that could be exchanged for goods and services, and to make the globalization effective. These things prompted the member countries of International Monetary Fund to form an international reserve asset under the guidance of IMF. Okay, I hope this point is also clear. Alright guys, now let's proceed to our next slide and we'll discuss few more important points about SDR. So in the slide, point number 1 says SDRs are allocated by the IMF to members participating in its SDR department. Neither the allocation nor the case of SDRs is subject to conditionality. Okay, if we talk about the allocation or the case of SDR, it is not subject to conditionality, and SDR is basically allocated by International Monetary Fund. Since it is a facility provided by IMF, so it is also allocated by IMF to its member countries which participates in the SDR department. Okay, so I repeat the point 1. SDR or special drawing rights are allocated by the IMF to members participating in its SDR department. Neither the allocation nor the case of SDR is subject to conditionality. Now, the point number 2 says participants holding SDRs or special drawing rights form part of their international reserves along with official holdings of gold, foreign exchange, and reserve positions in the fund. So, those countries which are participating in the SDR department, they get another reserve asset apart from gold, foreign exchange, and other reserve funds. Okay, so point number 2 says participants holding SDRs form part of their international reserves along with official holdings of gold, foreign exchange, and reserve positions in the fund. Now let's talk about the point number 3. Point number 3 says special drawing right SDRs can be used for a wide range of transactions and operations. Among official holders and participants are assured that they can also use them to obtain foreign exchange. Okay, so this is one of the most important usage of SDRs. So special drawing rights, provide a country with a wide range of transaction and operations among the official holders. And if we talk about all the participants of SDR are assured that they can also use them to obtain foreign exchange whenever they require. Okay, so that is how it is helping the international trade to grow. Okay, so IMF by providing the SDR facility is playing a very crucial role in the development of international trade. Okay, so I hope all the points on this particular slide are clear to you. If something is not clear, then you can watch this video once again to get a clarification on all points. Okay, so now we'll proceed to our next slide, and this will be the last slide of this particular video. And if you'll be getting any question in the examination related to SDR, so it can be either 5 marks question or 10 marks. So if you're getting 10 marks question, then you have to write all the points which we are discussing, and if you're getting 5 marks, then till previous slide you can write your answer. That will be sufficient. So now let's talk about the point number 1 in this particular slide. So the special drawing right SDR is the unit of account in which the IMF, International Monetary Fund, expresses the value of its assets. Okay, so SDR, what is SDR? It is the unit of account in which IMF is expressing the value of its asset. Okay, so what is SDR? SDR is the unit of account in which IMF, International Monetary Fund, is expressing the value of its asset. So the question can be asked, right, like how IMF is expressing the value of its asset. So IMF is expressing the value of its assets in terms of SDR. ठीक है. So SDR is the unit of account in which the IMF is expressing the value of its assets. Okay, let's talk about the point number 2. All members of the IMF participate in the SDR department. The SDR is not regarded as a currency or a claim against IMF assets. Instead, it is a prospective claim against the freely usable currencies that belong to the IMF member states. Okay, I repeat. So, all members of the International Monetary Fund participate in the SDR department to avail the SDR facility, and the SDR is not regarded as a currency or a claim against the IMF asset. Okay, keep that point in mind. SDR is not regarded as a currency or a claim against the International Monetary Fund assets. Instead, it is a prospective claim. What is it? It's a prospective claim against the freely usable currencies that belong to the IMF member states. Okay, so initially, if we talk about the value of SDR was made equal to $1 and it's equivalent to 0.080671 gram of fine gold. Okay, I repeat, initially the value of SDR was made equal to $1 and it was equivalent to 0.080671 gram of fine gold. But after 1971 and 1973 dollar devaluation in terms of gold, the SDR had to be revalued in terms of gold while rebating its gold par. Okay, so just because of that, now the value of SDR has been devalued and revised. Okay, currently we talk about the value of SDR is equal to the sum of 0.423 euros, 12.1 yen, 0.111 pounds, and 0.66 US dollars. Okay, I repeat, currently the value of SDR is equal to the sum of 0.423 euros, 12.1 yen, 0.111 pounds, and 0.66 US dollar. Okay, so I hope all these points are clear to you, and by using all these points you can write a very nice answer and you can score full out of full marks. Okay, so now that's all, and I request each and every one of you, if you like this video, give a thumbs up, join my channel, subscribe, and share it with your friend and family members. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. Perform your best in your exams. Bye bye.